Hi everybody, my name is Bob Saunders and I'm here today to talk to you about the rather unpleasant subject of suicide. Now, I want to say first and foremost that no one should finish their life unnaturally, that every one of us should have the courage to see it through to the end. Now, churches say, as do I, that people shouldn't commit suicide. And to try and frighten people from committing suicide, they've invented this story of you go off to hell and burn eternally and all the rest of it. And that is not true. I want actually to try and explain what's going on really.
The word is from the Latin "suicidum", which means the killing of oneself. Exodus 20:13. Thou shalt not kill. Galatians 5:21. Envyings, murders, drunkenness, revelings, and such like, of the which I tell you before, as I have also told you in time past, that they which do such things shall not inherit the kingdom of God. Revelations 21:8. But the fearful and unbelieving and the abominable and murderers and whoremongers and sorcerers and idolaters and all liars, which are you doing, shall have their part in the lake which burneth with fire and brimstone, which is the second death. In the Wikipedia source, suicide is the act of intentionally causing one's own death. The Abrahamic religions traditionally consider suicide an offense towards God due to the belief in the sanctity of life.
We are a spiritual force that animates a physical body. There's two of us. You've got your physical body and you've got the spiritual force that animates.
Man is made out of spirit, soul, and a body. 1 Corinthians 3:16. Know ye not that you are the temple of God, and that the Spirit of God dwelleth in you? If any man defile the temple of God, him shall God destroy. For the temple of God is holy, which temple you are. So if we destroy our body, we defile it. Defile is to make unclean. God will destroy our body. So if we kill ourselves with suicide, we're destroying our body, and God will destroy our body. So if we kill ourselves, we cannot expect to go to heaven. God will destroy our body in hell.
Again. And the real you is an invisible force that animates the physical body. Now, this planet Earth was actually constructed for animals to inhabit. We were never meant to come here in the first place. It's a long story why, but we were asked to come here to help spiritualize the planet Earth.
Colossians 1:16. For by him were all things created that are in heaven, that are in earth, visible and invisible, whether there be thrones or dominions or principalities or powers. All things were created by him and for him, as Jesus Christ is talking about. So we were not meant to come here, Bob. Ephesians 1:4. For he chose us in him before the foundations of the world to be holy and blameless in his presence in love. Did we come to spiritualize the earth, Bob? Genesis 1:26. Then God said, let us make man in our image, according to our likeness, and let them rule over the fish of the sea, and over the birds of the sky, and over the cattle, and over all the earth. And God said, God blessed them, and God said to them, "Be fruitful and multiply, and fill the earth, and subdue it, and rule over the fish of the sea, and over the birds of the sky, and over the living things that moves on the earth."
Because this planet Earth was originally constructed for animals, I don't know the sort of people that commit suicide, but I would imagine that it would tend to be the more spiritual people who have the greatest difficulty fitting in that decide to pull the plug. Now, that is a shame because, as I mentioned earlier, it's a school, and if you drop out from that school, you're losing part of the education. Okay? We'll assume that somebody has committed suicide. What happens? Well, quite simply, the body ceases to function. The spirit, which is eternal and which came from heaven, then goes back to heaven. Quite often it goes through this long tunnel that people have talked about, and eventually goes back into heaven. And there it's welcomed back into heaven exactly as if the person had died of old age or an accident or whatever. There is no judgmental God up there pointing his finger and saying, "You have committed a grievous sin and you're going to burn in." Heaven is a place that is full of love, compassion, understanding, welcomingness, and all the rest of the positive and beautiful and loving attitudes. And that person is welcomed back there exactly as are we all at the ends of our lives.
Matthew 7:21. Not everyone that said unto me, Lord, Lord, shall enter into the kingdom of heaven, but he that doeth the will of my Father which is in heaven. So not everyone will enter into heaven, but only those that does the will of his Father. Matthew 22:12-13. Said, "Friend," he asked, "how did you get in here?" And he said, "Without wedding clothes." But the man was speechless. Then the king told the servants, "Tie him hand and foot, and throw him outside into the outer darkness, where there will be weeping and gnashing of teeth." And that, my friend, is hell. And that was the parable of the wedding banquet.
Now, from there, that person has a couple of choices. He can either stay in heaven eternally, or he can decide that he wants to finish his education here, and he decides to come back down again, and in which case he'd be born into a baby and grow up in different but similar circumstances to what he left behind to finish that sort of education. Or indeed he could choose to go off to another planet somewhere, because don't think for one moment that human life is restricted just to planet Earth. There is life all over the galaxy. It may not look quite as human as us, and some of it doesn't even have a physical body. We remain in our spiritual bodies. But I can assure you there's life all over the galaxy. In any way, the person has those choices. He either stays in heaven, or he decides to come back here, or he decides to go somewhere else, and life goes on. And the fact that if you've had somebody in your family that's committed suicide, don't think for one moment that they're going to burn in hell, because they're not. They're welcomed back into heaven, as you will be, and I hope I will be eventually, and there they fit in with they've all got their family and friends up there from previous generations, and they're welcomed into that community once again, and all is forgiven and forgotten.
You might say, why do I attack Bob Sanders? I come against Bob Sanders because when you look at his website or his YouTube videos, you notice here you have 12,578 subscribers, and you have 37,971 views. That means 12,000 of these people are being deceived, and plus 37,000 more are being deceived by his lies. His teaching is anti-biblical. He's teaching it outside of the Bible. Either he's making it up, or this is a new age deception. He's leading 12,000 people guaranteed to go to hell, which he don't believe in. But the Bible talks about it in many scriptures. Jesus talked about it. And 37,000 more who watch this video are being deceived by this new age teacher. And we will be judged according to what we teach. But then you might say, wait a minute. Does it all have to be in the Bible? When you think about it, he talks about God. If he talks about God and Jesus, but he talks about a different Jesus, the Jesus he talks about is not the Jesus of the Bible. So if he talks about God, so surely God has written a book. He's written a book with instructions for us to follow. And that is through his word, which is in the Bible. But then the most thing important is Psalms 119:89, forever, O Lord, thy word is settled in heaven. His words does not pass away. For the Bible says heaven and earth will pass away, but my words will not pass away. So we base our life upon the teachings coming from the Bible.